Margins of victory are becoming ever smaller within athletic competition. Any small advantage to improve athletic performance would have a large impact on subsequent results. Over the past 2 decades, the demand for both natural and organic performance-enhancing supplements has seen a dramatic increase, as supplementing is one method athletes use to gain an extra advantage over their competition. These supplements usually increase performance by either increasing the rate of the body's efficiency during exercise intensity, or they increase the rate of recovery post-exercise. But why don't you just eat a few more veg? Like, go into the field and get a few spuds and carrots and peas from farm shop like. Majority of these nutrients that we do supplement can be found naturally in certain foods. However, often increasing these supplementation doses beyond what's feasibly attainable in the whole foods can have these subsequent improvements in performance. Before we start on this, I'd just like to say I'm a massive advocate of eating a very, very nutrient-dense, healthy diet, which is generally quite high in protein and manipulates carbohydrates around different exercise intensities and training sessions. In order to increase my recovery rates and my performance, I do supplement. I am not suggesting that what I am doing is absolutely the best thing for everybody. Especially with regards to sports nutrition, there is lots of different takes, different body types, digestive system, underlying physiological issues. What I do for myself will not be right for person number 2, which will not be right for person number 3. But some of the underlying pathways and reasons for why I do certain things will fit a lot of different people. Number 1, protein. As I just mentioned, I have a fairly high protein diet. I find that, especially for endurance athletes, having a relatively high amount of protein in the diet compared to the other macronutrients is really good and beneficial for recovery rates. There's evidence to suggest that up to 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight is appropriate for optimising recovery in athletes, and especially endurance athletes. Hey up, Cocker. Why don't you just ride your bike and eat lots of pasta? You don't need to be going to gym and getting all bulked up, getting all these muscles and that. Endurance inflicts a lot of muscle damage, and we need to repair that muscle. In order to repair muscle, we need protein to synthesize that broken down muscle. I generally start to circulate around 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Now, I could get all of that protein from whole foods, and I have done in the past, and I do have periods where I come off protein supplementation in order to do that. However, it's expensive and it's not particularly convenient in a busy lifestyle. So this is where protein supplementation comes in. I supplement with 2 different types of protein. These are whey protein and a vegan blend of protein. I am not a vegan, however, I find that if I just consume whey protein, and let's say for example I am supplementing with 2 to 3 different servings of protein supplementation a day, I find that whey protein is not particularly good for my gut. So I try to mix it around a little bit. So say for example, I wake up in the morning and I have some protein pancakes. I will have them with eggs and a form of whey protein in the pancake. Then I will train at, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's not quite lunchtime, so I will have a protein shake once I finish that training session. I don't really want another serving of whey protein straight after the session, so that's when a vegan blend of protein will come in. So, the 2 types, I am obviously not endorsed by any kind of company. However, I think my protein is absolutely sound. They're always got offers on, and they are very honest with their prices. and they include what is required and nothing else. I rate them as a company. I have the whey protein from MyProtein. One scoop of this offers 112 calories or 25 grams of protein, 0.7 grams of sugar, no fat. That's about 25-30 quid, £1.50 a serving. It's great. Whey protein is very fast digesting, so that's the best type of protein to have when you need it in your system fast. So, for example, directly after a training session. The other protein that I mix it up with sometimes is my vegan blend of protein. Basically, a mixture of pea protein, bean proteins. It doesn't taste as nice as whey. However, I often mix it into things. So for example, if I'm having oats in the morning, I'll add a scoop of vegan blend protein, chocolate flavour. It's really nice, and yeah, doesn't go amiss. It's just a way of implementing a little bit extra protein. So for example, in a breakfast where you've got some porridge oats, you've not hit that kind of 20 grams of protein serving. You might only have 10 grams. So having half a scoop or a full scoop of vegan blend protein in there will increase that protein dose. 96 calories for 22 grams of protein. No fat, no sugar either. So it's great. Number 2, carbs. I'm going to glance over this one fairly quickly because most cyclists will know what I mean by this. Having some carbohydrate solution in drinks bottles, having carbohydrate energy bars and gels in a race scenario or a very demanding training session scenario is very handy. I hardly ever, if ever, rely on these type of things during training sessions unless they are specifically demanding, because I try and get them from Whole Foods. So for example, if I'm out for a 3-hour ride with a few efforts in there, I will take a banana, I will take maybe a sweet potato that's been put in the microwave with me, I will take a handful of mixed fruit and nuts, things like that, or I'll take some homemade flapjack, rather than relying on very kind of energy dense sugary foods which are quite expensive. However, in a race scenario, I would definitely advocate them. For example, I have Science in Sport Go electrolyte drink there, which I will have on races that are longer than an hour and a half. It delivers 36 grams of carbs in a serving, which is very sugary, but it delivers what it needs to do when it needs to deliver it. So it's handy to have. Number 3, creatine. This might be a bit of a surprise to you. Seen a lot around the gym environment and the strength and conditioning environment. However, it is less recognised in endurance performance. I am not going to reel off all the science about this. With a quick Google search, you can find a lot about it. More beneficial for sprint performance and 1 to 3 rep max performance. There's lots of physiological pathways in which it improves all of the kind of short-term energy systems, very, very short-term energy systems. So in the off-season point of view, you can get more bang for your buck out of your training. In-season point of view, you can have an increase in your performance for repeated sprints and one-off sprint ability. So for example, the last lap of a crit. The only negative associated with it from an athletic endurance performance point of view is you tend to hold on to a little bit more water, so it comes with a lot of water retention. I generally put on between 1.5 to 2 kilos when I'm on that compared to when I'm not on it. Depending on your discipline, that might not matter. Number 4, ZMA, or ZMA, to be less American. Zinc, magnesium and vitamin B12. These 3 minerals are potent to give you a really good night's sleep. I have these about half an hour before I go to sleep, and I genuinely can see a significant difference in my sleep between having them and not having them. I don't have them every single night. I have them on the nights where I really want a deep, long sleep. If I know I'm having a little bit of a lie-in, I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock and I don't have to be up early for the next day, I will have these. Situations when I wouldn't take these is when I'm up early for a specific race or an event. Alarm because I have to be up at 5 o'clock for a race, I will not take these because that's forcing myself out of that deep sleep and I will feel groggy. Number 5, caffeine. Now, this supplement is, for me, the biggest performance enhancer in terms of value for money. In all of research, in all of the studies, you will be lucky to find any study which disagrees with the fact that this enhances your performance. Caffeine does enhance performance, period, okay? Now, the exact amount of caffeine to have prior to performance varies depending on individuals, depending on how much coffee you have per day. Specifically for myself, I will have between 200 and 400 milligrams of caffeine prior to a race. And that typically peaks after about half an hour to an hour of taking the dose. Again, my protein, pure caffeine. One tablet contains 200 milligrams of caffeine. Chuffing caffeine? What's that about? Why don't you just have a couple of cups of coffee before you race? Like, that'll do for you fine, won't it? To put that into perspective, that is about 4 espressos or 5 cups of tea if you like a Yorkshire brew. The recommended dose in the literature for most people is varies between 200 and 600 milligrams of caffeine a day for prior to performance. But you need to kind of start the lower end of things and increase it to a rate in which you feel comfortable with. I have had too much caffeine prior to a race before, and it's not particularly nice. You feel like you're just overly angst about everything, and you can't necessarily concentrate very well. One word of warning with these is the half-life of these lasts up to like 12 hours. So if I've got an evening race, I need to be careful with these, because if, say for example, I've got an evening crit which starts at 7:30, if I have one of these at 7 o'clock, I will really struggle to get to sleep that night. So it depends how important the race is and how much I need that good night's sleep that night. So they are my top 5 supplements which I take regularly. The other 2 supplements which I take not as regularly, but I do include, are beta-alanine, which is an amino acid. This helps me prior to performance to go harder and lift heavier and sprint faster. For myself, I find I do enjoy it for sprint performance, but not endurance performance. The other one I take is beetroot or nitrate supplementation. Nitrate is an incredibly potent vasodilator. So it expands veins and arteries, therefore increasing the rate of oxygen in the blood. Obviously I don't take it every single day. I don't take it for training sessions particularly, because there's not an associated extra benefit or extra training stimuli from a training session if you take this. However, there is an increase in performance. Up to 7% increase in performance will increase your performance. One shot of these is equivalent to something like 10 beetroots in terms of the actual nitrate in it. So it's not just a case of having loads of beetroot. Why don't you just have beetroot? Why don't you just go to the farm and get some beetroot? Like, as I've just mentioned, having 10 beetroots prior to performance would not increase your performance. You would very likely have the runs, have so much fibre in your, not do good things at all. So having the fibre taken out of those beetroots and in a concentrated form of beetroot shot, in a shot, is much more appropriate. That rounds out my top 5 supplements that I take and that works for me. Please remember to like my video, subscribe to my channel. Come here, come here, come here. Oh.